I'm really nervous for, and I don't want to live in that state of nervousness. And I think if most people are cognizant of it, they don't either, because you make foolish decisions in that. Our minds as humans will take us to places we don't really want to go, and places that are destructive. They're not healthy. They're
Yeah,
not for personal relationships. They're not good for work relationships. And so I think we want to take a step back. Number one, I think we talked about this even a little bit last time. Take a step back and just breathe. I mean, really, that art of just breathing in and exhaling, and
definitely.
it's a huge help. How come little kids don't worry like adults do? And I've come to find out, or at least in my own thinking, the reason why they don't is because they actually believe that a safe environment has been created for them. And so a lot of us as adults didn't get that very much as a kid. I think we intrinsically want to believe it, but we didn't get it. Or we didn't get it to the extent that we maybe would have gotten it in a healthy family. But my point is,
Yeah,
most kids believe that intrinsically that life will be okay. So they don't normally fret anxiously over things like this the way adults do, or even at school, maybe they bomb a paper and they're like disappointed, but they know it's okay. I'll get by. I'll make it better next time. And I think the reason why is because they live with the knowledge that it is going to be okay. And I think what happens at times like this, when pandemics and things that we have little or no control over as this, we have control over our behavior, but we have no control over the end result.
right.
And that we really feel at a loss. And when we start to feel unsafe, that's when we begin to let our own emotional position dictate what we might do in business, what we might do in personal relationships, what we might do in our interpersonal relationships, and then what we might do internally for ourselves. So I think it is so important to remain grounded at a time like this.
And by
And
yeah, and by grounded you mean more like uh you were talking about that relaxation, right? Just like, well, what? How would you say that to somebody though that got laid off and just
yeah,
stressing about like, oh my god, like I can't pay rent this month,
well, I live in
or
the blue collar world. These
right,
are the working class people of America. And although I'm on the white collar end of it as the business owner, my whole world is in the working class. And these are people who, by and large, are barely making rent. They're living week to week. They're shopping. A lot of them, to be honest, can't even make wise shopping decisions like, hey, let's go to Costco and buy things in bulk, even though it costs more,
right,
because that stuff will last me over 4 to 6 months. But they don't have the resources to begin to even think that way. These are people a lot of times, because of their socioeconomic status, that they'll go and they've got $100 in their name to shop and buy enough food, detergent. So they're going to pay $9 for a bottle of detergent, whereas for $18 they could have bought one at Costco that would last them 6 months.
yeah, exactly,
But they can't do that because all they had was $100 to begin with.
right,
So, or they didn't have the Costco membership, or they're overwhelmed by having a membership. They don't know. They just want to go to the store.
yeah,
So my point is yeah, what do you do when you talk? And those are my people. They're on the front lines. Um, and so these people don't have excess. You ask them to cut. They live a life of cut. Their lives are as we speak, completely cut from top to bottom. They're already telling their children who are coming to them saying, hey, mommy, daddy, can I have $20 for the school thing, for whatever it is, a school field trip or an
right,
activity? Well, either it's $20 for Junior's diapers, or it's $20 I give to Sylvia so that she can have her school thing. Which one's it going to be? And quite honestly, typically the parents take out of their own, because they love their children so much that they take out of their own food budget for their own lunches.
right.
So you ask these people to cut, and what are they going to do at a time like this? You're out of your mind.
Yeah.
The idea of the stimulus package, which I think is a great idea, it's wonderful, and it's direct money. It's coming.
Does that put us into debt as a nation? Like,
Well, it does
you know what I'm
in
saying?
some respects. I don't want to ever claim to be, a poli-sci, what do you call it? A person who knows much. But from my limited understanding of it, is it? I mean, we obviously have we have deficit and we have debt, two different things. And we obviously have been running on the red for more years than we can all count, and none of us like it. If we ran our households like the government runs our fiduciary process, we would probably even be alive right now. We wouldn't have a house to live in, etc. But the world as a whole needs the U.S. to be here. So that's like our one saving grace. We've got a few, but that's one of the most significant ones. The world needs us to stay alive. It's almost like when the government bailed out, what was it, GMC or GM back in
I don't know this.
Something like that. They bailed them out. Well, it's like, wait a minute, they didn't run their books right. Why are we giving them money? Because we needed them to stay in business. We need them as a company to stay around, because so many things are fallout of that. You can't.
They benefit then the bigger picture.
Exactly. So this is similar to that. Is you have to infuse this to people who need goods and services.
Right.
Yes, it's a bad idea in the short term. It doesn't even make sense. Trillions of dollars going out, and then of course there's political debate from others of and every party does this. If it's one party that says I want the stimulus bill, the alternating party will say, well then give me 6 donuts every Monday. It's always going to go back and forth, and that's okay. It's actually good that we have that because that's what keeps us centered a lot of times. So. But this concept that is it a good idea? I mean, it's not just is it a good idea. It's something you have to do. It's humanitarian. Right. It really is, because these people have nowhere to turn.
Right.
And for a lot of people, they're overwhelmed by the idea, myself included. I don't want to speak against others. Is how am I going to feed my family in a few weeks? Now, because I was taught as a child, even if it's literally $10 away a week, put it in a jar, put it in the bank, put it in a CD, whatever you're going to do, put a little bit away so that when times come, you're not to fall back on. Right. But again, you have people by and large, and again, in my industry in general, is that that concept, and especially even if they come from other countries, right? That concept that maybe they don't know where that these things exist, that it is good to put money aside, because they literally lived hand to mouth for so many years, but they don't know. One thing, though, that I don't know if Westerners have a good grasp on, that I do feel like a lot of people from other countries do get, especially developing countries, that I feel like they understand far better than we do, is they're tenacious.
Yeah.
And that a lot of people from other countries have been through such amazing tragedy on so many levels, either their journey to the U.S., where they grew up, the resources they had. So when things like this come, it's like I don't say a walk in the park.
Yeah.
But this is old hat for them, right?
Yeah.
Really? I mean, we lived without toilet paper for 20 years. I don't even see how that's a problem. So.
Like they already created that lifestyle prior to any of this, right? Like
exactly. This is
minimalism.
They're able to handle it and stomach it much better than Westerners who are, having a full panic attack. Tiffany & Co., the jewelry store is closed. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So a lot of great things are going to come out of this that I'm excited about. I see it even on a real microcosm scale of my own family. We do have more dinners together, which we've always been good about, but even still, even more.
A little bit more appreciated, right?
We are. My 13-year-old made an entire dinner for us the other night. She did like a Teflon style. It was really fun. She got, the pancake flat thing that you cook pancakes on, the little griddle, and she did her rice on there, and she got the chicken and the shrimp and yada yada, and made this meal for all of us, and had a check-in station, and made us all dress up in fancy clothes. And we would have never done that.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable. So I think there are some really advantageous, things that will emerge from this. I think kids, hopefully, we're not going to get them out of their dependence on electronic devices. It is what it is. It's here to stay. But this is causing, I think, kids who are no longer now getting the physical, assuming people are living by what we're told to live by with the social distancing.
Right.
Which literally, just FYI, doesn't mean because someone's in your family but they live 3 blocks away, it doesn't mean you can still be in touch with them. It means they're a different family. Stay over there. We stay
Stay
here.
in your own home.
Stay in your own home. I don't know why that's so hard to understand.
There's that people think that when they say social distancing, they probably think that your family, any family, doesn't like have to be involved in that. They probably think just friends.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or co-workers. But it's literally
well, their own little street where we can all play together on our street. No, that's not social distancing. No. It's a terrible time. And what about the family? Consider the family who is a family of 4 or 5 living in a 1-bedroom apartment, 2-bedroom apartment, no backyard, no front yard, all communal areas are shut down. I mean, you want to talk about people who are going stir crazy. And pretty soon they might even lose their internet or their cable, which is the only thing that was keeping them somewhat sane, because now they can't even afford that. Their kids continue to grow, but they can't buy them new clothes. They can't shop for them. They can't afford them. Going to the store becomes an adventure just to get out. Unfortunately, I didn't see it. My wife goes to the store. Only one person goes to the store. My wife will go. And she says she sees an entire family of 4 or 5 there. And it's like, I get it. You don't go as like that. But on the other hand,
it's more, you're exposing everybody.
They are, and it's not a good idea. And they're being exposed to it. And but at the same time, we don't know their situation. Maybe they're stuck in a home. They're literally just, this is their only, they're giddy about getting to the store for the week. I don't know. It doesn't make it okay. It doesn't, but it makes my heart reach out to them and think, I've got a small backyard and a small front yard, but I've got a small front yard and a small backyard. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
you got somewhere to like chill, like, or.
Yeah.
But I get it. I mean, I've seen people out here outside my apartment, like they'll be walking and stuff, like they walk in groups though with their little families.
Okay.
And I think that's okay. I mean, like during the late hours at least.
Sure. And they're keeping
the early mornings. Yeah, exactly.
Fine.
Not that anyone's outside, but it's like you got to do what you got to do. Like you got to get some fresh air or something, because I mean these apartments are not the biggest apartments, but you know what I'm saying. Like that fresh air, I think that would change everything up. Keep the mind cool. Because I don't know how many people are like really laid off from where we live.
Okay.
It's more how can I say this? It's lower income for sure.
Okay.
But I mean, I low-key feel like I'm only one of the only ones that save their money. Because I'm the type that saves all their money. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, you got it.
So it's like,
and that's
I wonder what's going on.
Especially, I mean, let's be honest. Even at your age, that's a rarity. I mean, how many of your friends in your age bracket, plus or minus 5 years, can you think don't live outside their means?
Yeah.
Right? They say to save at least 10% of your income, at a minimum 10%. I mean, how many people, even at my age, I'm 49, most people get a raise. First thing they do is change their rate.
They upgrade their life. Yeah.
Their lifestyle.
Automatically.
Time, they go out and get a new car, and those are real tangible things. But it's a mindset. Now they're at the store, and they're things like, well, they used to think smaller, and now they think, oh, I got more money, now I can buy, whatever it is, 3 things of peanut butter instead of 1.
Yeah.
Buy the good peanut butter versus the medium peanut butter. So people need to, when they do get an increase, is instead start sheltering that away. So at a time like now, like you're probably not having a panic attack like some of your neighbors might be.
Yeah.
They might be having a full meltdown because they didn't save anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. How long do you think it's gonna like take for all this to pass on? Do you feel like once people find a cure, and people find out about it, they'll start acting more like, like we can actually do things now? You know what I'm saying? Like, how long do you think it'll take?
Well, it's speculation. The longer it will take depends on people's willingness to sacrifice now. It's like you saved your money,
you
stuffed away your nuts. So when wintertime came, you had enough. They call it squirreling it away. You squirreled it away so that now you can eat your nuts, and you're not having to freak about where am I going to get nuts, because now it's wintertime. There's no nuts. So it's wintertime. There's no nuts, anyone, and So people are out still scrounging for more, metaphorical nuts.
Right.
And they're trying to get out. They're trying to find a job. They're trying to do whatever they can, scramble for whatever is left for them to buy and fill their homes with. And so people need to, the faster we can really slow down the growth of this, right? The speculation is at least half the population is going to get this. So either you or me are going to get it, right? Maybe both of us. So half people are going to get this thing. And it's going to affect other people differently. I've got asthma, and I've had pneumonia before. So quite honestly, I'm probably a high risk person. Others may not be. But the more mindful we are about listening to the guidelines that are given to us by those who we might not agree with. The park nearby our house was shut down. There's signs everywhere. And they literally took caution tape and put it around the playground. And everybody and their brother was over at the outside gym that's out over there, little bars and so forth.
Yeah.
And the basketball courts were taped off. Last night, my son told me, he looked down the end of the street and he said, looks like everyone's at the park still. They had literally taken down all the caution tape. I mean, that is a brazen defiance of just what makes sense. It's not the government's trying to come down on you and make your life worse. They're trying to make this better so we can get out of this sooner.
Some people fear it's the end of democracy. I'm like, that's something to like. Yeah. I'm just thinking about it. Like, I don't know, man. I don't think that government would go that deep.
No, and
gotta take that away from us.
This idea that we live under tyrannical, rule is. Those are people who haven't probably lived in areas that truly are ruled in that fashion. If that was the case, people would not really want to come here. The whole world wants to come to America, let's be honest. Yeah. There's like a 45 million person wait line every year. So, and that's a number I think I heard 2 days ago on that. So, point being though, is people need to just do their part, right? I mean, do your part. That's it. I've got some guys, we're part of the essentials, if you will. But even still, that doesn't mean my guys can be flagrant. We make sure they have hand sanitizer. Fortunately, we invested in that because we've got a crazy safety program.
Are you talking about EV Pros or Sheets?
Yeah, both companies actually.
Okay.
But EV Pros has an enormous amount of hand sanitizers, and so I got them here somewhere. I'll grab one. But we've got our official EV Pros hand sanitizer. Excuse me as I throw that at the computer. And we bought these for like trade shows back in the day, and for some reason wound up not using them, which was, I mean, these are like gold now.
Yep.
So I give these to all the guys, and they keep their hands clean. I have them wear rubber gloves when they're going to be working together, because there are jobs that we do that unfortunately are required right now and do require you to be in close proximity to one another. They do. And so I require them to wear the masks. We had already bought N95 masks back in the day. Now, some will argue the water droplet, yada, 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 or inside of the COVID-19 can still get through an N95, and you should wear the mask if you have the virus. If you don't, it doesn't matter.
So you know what? Right?
Take all precautions. Just wear it. I want everybody wearing them, and I want everybody wearing rubber gloves. Change the gloves all day long. I don't care if we go, through a few boxes. Fortunately, we bought them back in the day, so we've got them, and it's just not worth it because you don't know where that person's been. Apparently, it stays alive on metallic surfaces for a couple, 3 days.
Right.
So how do you know the doorknob that you touched from that homeowner or whoever it is that, that, again, these are jobs that we only have to go to. We're not doing every job we're called to, just ones that are critical right now. But you just don't know. And so let's take every precaution. Again, do your part. If everyone does their part, we're really going to nip this thing in the bud a whole lot faster.
Yeah, we'll get through it faster. Yep.
Yeah, your question of when is it going to end, we don't know, but we need to delay the expedited growth of what it is right now. And the way to do that is on a personal level is what it comes down to. And self-regulation. That is probably one of the biggest problems humans have in general, right? And that's why we have rules and laws to begin with, because people don't know how to self-regulate very well. They just don't. People are really concerned, by and large, with how do I make me bigger, better, faster, stronger, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So instead of having a more altruistic perspective that says, What was it, John F. Kennedy, right? Not what you ask, not what you can do for yourselves, what you can do for your country. This idea of how can my actions aren't just about myself. They're more like rings in a pond. And when I drop that rock in the pond and the rings grow out, how does my behavior that I do affect other people? And how can I make that impact them in a positive way instead of a negative way? So we do that on a business level. We want to do it on a personal level. Now we want to do it on a national and global level, of course, with this pandemic. How do we work together on the simplest of things to make sure we get there? So, the other day, my wife even did something that at the time I was like gritting my teeth, but she delivered a case of TP to some friends of ours who needed it. And I'm like, yeah, don't go giving that away. We don't have a whole lot of resources. But what she was thinking was right. It was true. It was accurate. There was a family in need with, I think, 4 or 5 kids.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any for whatever. And it's not that they're not planners and they're not proactive and yada yada.
Yeah.
They didn't. The day of the week fell on a bad time or the month, and they didn't have the TP, and now it's all gone.
Was this recent or?
Yeah, it was about I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I think. Right when the TP was unavailable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, like in the peak of things.
At the peak of things.
Because
you can get it now, right?
Well, I haven't even really checked. All I know is that some Clorox wipes and stuff like that, they're still out of stock. So it's that's like a big one,
Yeah. Spray.
Yeah.
Which I get. It's, again, people are panicking, and they instead of just getting 1 or 2 bottles, they're buying, I think 8 of them just in case I need these. Well, slow down, man. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a deep breath together. Look at how you can help out your fellow human.
And don't use 10 pieces of TP because, you know how you can roll out like an entire line of TP?
That's right.
Because you don't want to get your hand wet.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, man, it's crazy, man. It's some crazy times. This is my first time as an adult experiencing what people are calling a recession, and it's kind of like, I'm kind of happy that I've saved my money throughout my growth as a person,
Was that pattern for you as a young person?
What was that?
Was that pattern for you growing up? Like your parents said, Arturo, you're going to do this.
What do you mean do this? Like as
so
far as?
Make sure you set aside your nuts for winter, so to speak.
Yeah, they always told me like, you should set aside money, save your money, especially because they never really spoiled me or anything, my family's from Mexico, so they didn't really have a lot of money growing up.
Okay.
They were just trying to figure it out. So it's always been like that. Like if I did something, just do it for, like, as far as like helping out in the house,
Sure.
Doesn't be like, oh man, if you do this, we'll give you some money and just save it. So they taught me the value of money. You know what I'm saying? So to not spend it. Even told me about credit cards and stuff like that. Like don't spend a lot of money on this credit card. Like if you can buy like a chocolate or something, just pay it off. Just little by little. That way your credit card company, they'll realize that you can pay off, even if it's a chocolate bar. Like that you're responsible enough to pay something off at that small scale,
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, like I said, it's just crazy, like to see people like experience this. And
yeah, do you know anybody close to you who is right now at that point where they're like, I don't know where our next meal is coming from, and maybe not to that extent, but
yeah,
rents are due tomorrow morning. Around like $40 billion is due rent, $41 billion is due in rent tomorrow. Well, a lot of people are probably going to half pay that or partial pay that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Personally, I haven't heard from family. I know some of my family members work in not the ideal places that I feel like would potentially be a place that would get shut down or something like that.
Mm.
But I'm sorry, my daughter's in the back. That crazy one. No, but yeah, it's not personally though.
Okay.
I know, not personally that I know. What about you? Do you know any people that are potentially?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. We don't, have contact with others anymore, really.
Yeah.
So, and I wonder, what's that?
Or that they tell you, like, man, it's just been bad.
Not yet. We're a few weeks in, and some people I think are kind of crying wolf early, meaning like being 2 weeks out of work, I can't do anything. And it's like, well, yeah, it's affected your lifestyle, but let's be honest, there's a few extra cars in your house. You could probably launch a few of those.
Yeah.
Please don't tell me it's your wit's end. Yes, this is very disruptive. This is not fun. Yes, you're going to take a big hit if you sell an extra motorcycle or bicycle or two. Yep, I get it. It's not ideal, but you're not at your wit's end.
Yeah. Are you talking about taking a big hit as in like losing it?
Losing money. No, like for example, people have an extra car. They're like, well, I don't want to sell it because, 6 months ago it would have been worth 10 grand, and now it's worth 7. Well, sorry. I mean, that's just,
oh yeah, that's what you're saying.
That's just the nature of it. I mean, I hate to tell you that. You should have sold it then. I don't know what to tell you, but you do what you do with what you got. Sell it now. Don't sit there and cry wolf that you don't have any possibility or any resources. You do. They just stink, but you've got them. So, unfortunately, I do hear a lot of people like that who are just uncomfortable right now. And I think that's one of the largest things that we as humans are afraid to just admit is that life sometimes is very uncomfortable. Yep. It's uncomfortable emotionally. It's uncomfortable financially. It's uncomfortable physically. And so we don't like to just live in discomfort and embrace
by nature.
Yeah, this is uncomfortable right now. And so we do what we can to avoid those things. We avoid them, again, emotionally. And so a lot of times people resort to other things in their lives to fill these voids of just dealing with the fact that life is not comfortable sometimes. Right now, it's very uncomfortable. Yep. Admit the obvious, you're going to be a lot better off for it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, is there anything else that you feel like we need to cover? Like,
no, I want to, last time we talked about hope, the idea of that. And I really want people to get this, to live and breathe for a minute and know that there is hope. It's not always going to be this way. Back to your question that you had asked, how long is this going to go? I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. The president doesn't know. No president ever would have known. Whoever.
Yeah, I mean, he just pushed it back, right?
Yeah,
so like April 30th.
He was trying to get people in church on Easter. He said,
"Whoops."
It's like that was his thing. Like we're gonna be able to go back to this, and it may get pushed another 30 days, and we don't know. But the more that we're able to comply with what we can do is all to do our part. The faster we're going to be able to get our arms around this, ease up some beds in the hospital so that they're not so overworked and understaffed.
Right.
But for people just to stop and breathe for a minute, take a look. You got, 2 arms, 2 legs. I was going to say 4 arms. I meant 4 limbs. You've got 4 limbs. You've got each other. And it's almost like, they always ask people, the businessman never lays on his deathbed and says, I wish I would have, had more of this and that. They always say, I wish I would have spent more time with my family.
Right.
Are. And this is kind of another form of that right now, for us to take a step back and say, what are my values? What I say I cherish family. I say I value friends. Do I really? Because my lifestyle maybe didn't show it before, but maybe now is an opportunity for it to do that.
Right.
Investing in people. And I don't mean that means actually giving them money, although it may mean that. But it means the idea that you just take a different perspective on people, on life in general. And so this is a good check, I think, for us, as painful as it is. I'm encouraged by a lot of the positivity that is going to come out of this. Really encouraged.
I agree.
With that said, all the best. Yeah, all the best.